Good morning, folks. I should probably figure out how to make it not be cropped because that looks weird. Like, oh my goodness. Okay, but what we're gonna be doing today is some open source stuff, and then I don't know what I'm gonna have time for, so that's why I just put the date. And maybe that's what I'll do from now on because I don't always know exactly what I'm gonna work on. But yeah, so the yesterday I wrote this blog post and it's huge. I've got 4 egghead videos in here, and they're great. So go give those a look for sure. And yeah, spent most of yesterday when I was working. I spent most of yesterday on that, which meant that my open source stuff I fell a little bit behind, and just want to make sure that I keep up with that on some of this stuff. So yeah, let's just come down here to this one, and I'll pop that up in here. There you go. Okay, cool. So this is my import all macro thing, and it couldn't detect a new transpiled TS files location when build using Babel CLI. Also, this happened to all transform files that do not end with the JS extension. Okay, I'm not sure why this is happening exactly, but okay. See what their commit. What's this commit? No. So that's all just README stuff. I think was that source. Pretty sure that's all just the README. And minify that thing. Minify that thing. Bunch of stuff there. And then some more tests. Okay, so the changes that they actually made. Looks like the formatting changed a bit, so that's kind of annoying. Okay. That's interesting. I did not know about those things. Import sources. I need to find out. It's been a while since I've been in this code, so that is a bit of a trick. Okay, well, I didn't want this. I want this. Okay. Would take a call expression. Oh, I see. And then this is a glob. Original path, file path. Got it. Okay. So did they change that? Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is just like specific for TypeScript. Hi, what's your name? Are you saying that you're compiling your TS files as JS files right next to them? I don't think that's super common. That's a super common practice. And so I don't think we'll want to bake that into this macro, but you can definitely use your fork if it works for you. The nice thing about macros is that, well, I don't need to say any of that. Thanks and good luck. Okay, cool. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were doing. Render error true for what if this is the API? Come on. My Alfred autocomplete stuff is not working. Stand by. Let's see if I can get this snippet stuff working. Terminal is giving me some pain. Let's try this again. There we go. Sometimes terminal messes with me. Okay. Use mutation. Mutation. And then we have this is the eventual yeah. With these options as defaults eventually. Okay, so I don't know what I wanted. There are 3 things. So see. You can either let's see, catch rejections true. That would be the default. Or handle rejections. Oh, I like catch rejections better. Okay, so you catch rejections, or use error boundary true, false. Well, maybe true. I'm thinking the use error boundary could default to true or to false if you're not using concurrent mode suspense, and default to true if you are not positive about that. It seems like error boundaries make more sense for queries than mutations. Okay, cool. And then somebody is fixing something on my blog. Looks like, I think this is the person who wrote that blog post, so they would know. Except neither one seems to be working. That's too bad. Go to blog posts. Reducer. Huh. Okay, I'm just gonna let them know. Okay. This update fine, except thank you. One issue is if I land directly on that page, I get this. But if I start on your website and navigate to the post, it works fine. Thanks. I didn't think that this person had contributed before, so for content. All right, sweet. Need to go through that whole rigmarole. Oh, just noticed. Good morning, Kent. Do you mind zooming in a level or two? Not at all. Sorry I missed that. Good day, Kent. This is Kenny from Nigeria. Hi, Kenny. What's up? Okay, let's get this person added as a contributor. And there we go. Okay, what's next? I've got a big one for a testing library that I need to look at. Well, that's not a very nice username, but maybe that's just being self-deprecating, in which case it's still not a very nice username. Love the new website, by the way. Thanks. It's actually not super new. I've had it for like a year now, but that's nice. And thanks for saying nice things about my streams. I've been enjoying this. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Oh, thanks. How do you handle junior arrogant developers? You love them. You love them to death. And when they're dead, it doesn't matter anymore. No, just kidding. I don't know. I've never had to work for an extended period of time with an arrogant developer. He's not. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I worked with some people who were a little arrogant, but I don't know, I don't have any advice for you. Sorry. Just be nice to them and kill them with kindness, and then like I said, when they're dead, it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, sorry I'm not very helpful. Good luck. Oh, not all caps, that would be kind of weird. As Sebastian said, it's hard for us to help when there's no reproduction. In fact, it would be best if you're feeling to follow the instructions here. Help or RTL help here first. The issues are for bug reports and feature requests. So I'm going to close this. Please do open a thread in our community if you have further, or if you are unable to resolve this. Good luck. And I feel like there was something else. Oh, yeah, I need to update our template here. So I'm going to do that. Go to GitHub, issue template, edit this. You know what? Let's not do this in the editor because I got a couple files to change. So let's come over here. We'll cd into React testing library. And this here. And that didn't work. Code. Come on. Try this one more time. It keeps on opening in my home directory. There we go. Okay, so let's just do a quick poll. We'll look at our GitHub directory issue template here. You can follow this code sandbox, the instructions in this code sandbox to make a reproduction of your issue. RTL help. And then this needs to be here. Actually, let's just find. Okay, so that stays the same, this stays the same, that. This actually needs to be just testing library. That one's fine. I don't want to change that. Is there like a button I can press to say, do this one? That's unfortunate. Okay, well, there's this button I can press. And, yep. And I can skip that one. See, where am I on this? Okay, I guess I didn't have as many of those as I thought. Copy this here. Okay. There we go. Add or update issue template. And there we go. Oh my goodness, chat's coming through. Sorry. How do you get a screenshot of a Chrome tab? Well, you can use, if you're on a Mac, I don't know how you do this on Windows, but you do Shift Command 4, and that'll pull up this thing, and you can select an area, or you can hit the space bar and select the whole window. Yeah, that's how. It's great. You're using an old what? Learn more. I see. Well, oh, I just lost my Chrome thing, but there we go. This is fine. I don't need to worry about it. We're using both the old version and the new version, so what do you do? Okay, sweet. Moving on. I need to do something here real quick. that I'm going to do on the other screen. So if you'll use me for just a hot moment. I'm adding this person to the core maintainers team on React Testing Library or the Testing Library repo, because this person has done a ton of work. So and sometimes I feel like my master password for 1Password is way too long. Okay. Okay, I've got to figure out something. Oh, there we go. Well, I thought I had, whoa. Thought I had. Huh. Having a little trouble here. If you'll be patient, I would appreciate that. My bad. There we go. What? Right. Testing library. We go to teams. No. We'll make this work. This is gonna work, I promise. Okay, invite. Very good. Okay, cool. And okay, and I'm so close. I'm almost done. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna review all of the comments and stuff because I feel like I've missed a bunch. Okay. So, courteous but detailed code reviews. Yes, exactly. How to become a senior developer. Well, actually, I have a blog post that's tangentially related to that, that you might find interesting. So, how to get experience as a software engineer. So I'll just, I'll just hand this over to you. Enjoy that. I think it's a pretty good one. How to get an internship for software development. I don't know. I went to school, and so the internships were not like free or anything. I had to interview, but it was a lot more. I was privileged in that way, so I can't really advise you. I don't know. I did call quite a few places before I was in school, and I actually did get an internship before I got into the program. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's situation's different. I'm sorry. Some people just tend to be the love the font. Thanks. Being patient. Lots of good discussion. And Lucy just really wants to know how to be a software development intern. And I'm sorry, I can't. I don't know. I can't advise you. I don't know you. I don't know your situation. And so I'm sorry. Beijing. Whoa, what's up, Jonathan? Just got promoted. Congratulations. Oh, he did. Who's he? Well, congratulations to whoever that is. I guess it's funny though, because there's like laughing smiley faces. So there's that. Hey, thank you, Goran, for saying that nice stuff. I appreciate you being nice. Okay. We got merged but not yet released. npm im testing, or no, types testing library Cypress. Is it 3 underscores or just 1? Wait, why am I being what? Okay. Probably better not enter my web. Like, it looks like it's secure. What is this? npm.im error boundary. Yeah, okay. So let's go to types. Testing library Cypress. Yeah. Okay, I guess you can't use 3 underscores. That's interesting. Wonder if that's like a private package or something. Okay, well, in any case, it looks like this was public. Oh, cool. Now shows the size. This was published when? When was last published? A day ago. Good. Looks like this was published. So we should be good now. Thank you so much, Nicholas Ball. Try again. What? What's going on? Refresh. Try that again. And there it goes. Very good. Okay. Cool. So moving on to the next. Another one from the good old Nicholas Ball. Okay, let's take a look at. Okay, coming up. This was back in September. Let's give a heart to this thing. I think we're safe to close this now. If this is still an issue for anyone, please open a new issue. Thanks. Using the word issue multiple times is kind of funny. Close and comment. How can I manage a large front-end project? I don't know. No, it's a big question, and that's not the question I'm answering today. Sorry, I'm working on. I've got work that I got to do, and I don't. It would. Yeah, I'm not going to answer that right now. Sorry. Not all questions have short answers that I can address right now. Okay. So back in May, wow. This is on React Testing Library, and it was closed. And the problem. That's cool. Thank you. This would be awesome for React testing library examples. Hey, David. Cool. Cool. This would be awesome. Comment. All right. And we've got another one on Cypress testing library. Boy, we have people coming in and out our front door. I'm pretty sure my in-laws are leaving soon, so I'll be right back. I just want to go say goodbye, and yeah, then I'll be right back. All right, and I'm back. Yeah, my in-laws are leaving. Just wanted to say goodbye. Have a really great relationship with those wonderful people. Yeah. Hi there, Dante. Cool. Let's take a look at just some of the comments that have been made here. Yeah, okay, I don't really have anything to say further on that. Boy, GitHub just does not do a good job of showing me like what happened most recently. I want to see, because like that comment was pretty recent. This one's 4 days ago. Like, I mean, I think they're trying to do it in the same order of the diff or something, but I just want to see what are the new comments that I have not seen. Okay, here we go. What a swell fellow right here, spending the time to verify things and whatever, not just going with assumptions. Boy, that's awesome. Yeah, okay. Sorry to break your code, Andy. It was definitely not intentional. I think the best path forward here is to eventually remove the queries and only support find. With that in mind, if we could restore query to behave exactly as it had before these changes, but also add a deprecation warning that's not too spammy. Noisy. Then we can remove them in the next major version. What? I'll go ahead and open a new, or I just opened a new issue about this here. Okay, and let's go do that before I become a liar. All right. Convert changes to query and add a deprecation warning. Okay, coming down here. Yeah. As noted, in number 108, we accidentally broke query queries. You should restore those to the original behavior and add a deprecation warning. Let's try to make it subtle enough to not be really annoying, but present enough to be. Okay. And this is 117. Okay, labels. The bag. Okay, cool. We'll see what happens here with that. Hey, hello Kent, I was watching your stream yesterday. Cool. And I show you click the package in GitHub and redirect to the repo. Is there a plugin for that? Yeah, you can find all the stuff that I use on my uses page. So if you ever like, wow, how do you do that? Go to my uses page. It's probably on there. And if it's not, then you can ask me and I'll add it to that so that I don't worry about it. Okay. Next, wrong page. Go. Cypress testing library docs we want to update. Let's just take a look at the whole thing first. View file. So it's after. Yeah, so we've got examples changed and after usage. Okay. Oh, it's not a very long document anyway. Agreed. Yeah. Thumbs up. Agreed with Alex here. Okay. Maybe we should remove this example in favor of the regular chaining. Agreed. Let's see. Yeah. I'm glad that we're keeping all of the stuff off here, considering we're going to be moving it. Thanks. This is great. Just one small thing. Thanks. And done. Cool. Next, down to 11 now. Oh, whoops. Wrong repo. No worries. We'll just give them all the love in the world. There we go. Aw, somebody said something nice. Check this out. Oh, you won't see the discussion. I need to sign in. Well, come on. And here you are. I was looking for, oh, I want to go back to this thing. There we go. Oh yeah, this is my wrap-up video where I'm like, yeah. Fun stuff. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you both. There we go. That is good. Okay, some more testing library. Confirmed it works fine on IE. Really appreciate it. You're welcome. Ta-da! Okay, and on to the next. Wow, this is an old one. Way back in 2017. I don't need to be a part of this anymore. This used to be my project, and I handed it over. And I guess they've probably done a lot better job. I don't know. Looks like not much has happened. But, oh well. So, next one, the personal email. See, we've got some, oh, this is on wait for expect. I'm still watching, but we are going to remove this as a dependency pretty soon. So we don't need that. And this one looks like it was closed 8 minutes ago. Yeah, and this is why we have an issue template reproduction, so that you've figured out on your own. Good job. Hooray. Doesn't handle null value. I won't believe it. Okay. Looks like this is stale and resolved. So I'm going to close it. Good luck. Okay, now we're at 0. We've got a pull request here. And you know what? I don't care. Just doesn't matter. There we go. All right. What we have left is this one. Take a look at this and this. So this is a big one. Resolve Kent's review. Cool. That's nice. I will not find the input node for label text broken up by elements. You can use get by role instead, which is robust against switching to aria label or aria by. Very cool. Good. And get by. Awesome. That looks stupendous. So let's clear all the filters here now. And that's a new option. These should both be by alt and by title. I think many people use by text, select buttons, and divs, and spans. Maybe we should show, mention a few quick should mention what the role for each of those would be. Should briefly mention what the role of each of those would be. And that will cover most use cases. Looking good. Just a few things. Okay, cool. So that's good. Now let's look at the actual implementation of all this magic. So since I last saw this, I was right here. And then we boom, 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 boom. And yeah, yep, I agree with what is being said by both people. Okay, so we've got, oh, wait, these are all, okay, that was 8 days ago, 8 days ago, 8 days ago, 3 days ago. Here we go. Oh, okay, good. We have updated the DOM accessibility API. Cool. Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, this is looking good. Clear all the filters and just give it another once over. Form delivery address. Label. Should we attribute a fix to ARIA query before merging this? Okay, to be perfectly honest, anybody who uses input with type submit, it's like in actual production code. I don't understand it. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I don't know why this through. Oh, hey there, Sebastian. It has built-in localization. Wait, I'm confused. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, is that why you do input with the type submit? Because it has built-in localization? Oh, I see. Because it says submit. Fascinating. I didn't know that. Sebastian, since you're watching, and I guess you're like 15 seconds behind me, I don't understand this one. So, a get by role heading, name, sign up. Is that not what that is? It's a heading, name, sign up. So I'm confused. Does this need to be a regex? And if so, why? Would it need to be a regex? And if that's the case, then the test is just a little unclear to me. Oh, it's because of the capital. See, that's unclear. So if we could make it so that this is more clear, just say get by role, blah, and name, whatever. That way it's more clear. Because, yeah, that took me a second. The only difference between the name and sign up, or between this and the query is the U is not capitalized. I don't know how to spell capitalized. I think that's an I, Could we make this difference more stark? So this makes sense. It failed to find an L. Please. Thanks. All right. And heading login. Name sign up. Okay, that one's more clear. Except I'm looking at this and thinking, oh, I see. Okay, so you want to have a regex and that and that. Okay, that's. I don't really see a whole lot of value in having all three of these, because it's the same code path to generate this, and that's what we're just trying to test. So, not sure it's necessary to have all three of these. Maybe put the unexpected name right under the actual name. Should make these issues more obvious. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that actually would be super. That would be super awesome. I'm going to add a note about that so we don't forget. Because they're all testing the same code path and their differences are covered in other tests. Also, an idea from Sebastian while I was reviewing this live. Let's add the expected name and role. Well, actually, I'm not sure if that'll work, Sebastian, because let's just say that they're like, this is a big form or something, so there are going to be a lot of accessible roles, and so with each and every single one of those, we'd have, name, username, and then expected, sign up, and like we just have expected, sign up everywhere. So, I mean, maybe if we could tell that it was close, but that would take a lot of extra code. I mean, what would be really cool is if at the very top we could say, couldn't find it, here's one that was really similar. That would be awesome. I don't know if we need that for this pull request, but yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, none of them matched, but this is the one that was closest. Is this the one that you meant? And then click this button to automatically update your test. Wow, that would be amazing. Yeah. Okay, cool. So compute accessible name. The name is undefined. We don't care. Accessible name. The name is a string if the name is a function. Otherwise, we assume the name is a regex. Why don't we not assume it's a regex and test and check whether it is a regex? If it's not, then we can throw a more helpful error message. Honestly, we should probably have some code already that handles text match options, and that code could do this. Don't we already have some text match code? Log roles include name is false. Huh, why would we want to not always include the name? Okay, cool. Looking awesome. I'm excited for this. Okay, cool. All right, let me just make sure I'm not missing any. Oh, we got a new one from Nicholas, who is awesome. I work with the coolest people. Working in open source is the best. We got Nicholas and Sebastian and Alex and how do you say his name? Naps. well, he's the one who maintains the ingest DOM. Shoot, what is his name? I hope he's not watching because I'd feel bad. Gotta give him a shout out. There he is. Ernesto, that's right. And GPX, GPX guy, also Giorgio, very cool person. Oh, also, you see, now I'm giving shout outs. I'm gonna feel bad if I miss anyone, but it's such a pleasure to work with Ben and where is he? Alex, or no, not Alex. Andrea. I don't know how to say his name. Pleasure. Super grateful for Rahim and his maintenance of Svelte, as well as what's the other one he's doing? There's another one he's kind of taken over. Oh, he helped a lot with React hooks, and this Michael fellow also helping with React hooks. All these people, look at all these people. They're awesome. What a pleasure it is to work with these awesome folks. Yeah, super duper happy to be working with these people. Yeah, open source is the best. I don't mind making this, we're taking this on since I broke it. I can finish that today. Thanks, Nicholas. Giving me so much work to do. Just kidding. I'm super happy. Saving me a ton of work is what he's doing. Okay, cool. What project is that? May I join you guys? You're always welcome to join. I've got a blog post for you about this. What OSS? So there you go. This is how you get into open source. So give that a shot, start contributing, and once you have contributed a non-trivial amount of stuff, then yeah, you can join the team. Everybody's welcome. Yeah, that's all my open source for this morning, and I think that might be all my open source for the day. So let's see, what's the next thing? Next thing I should work on is stretching. So hold on a sec. And we're back. Okay. Oh, Sebastian, we're just sharing the love. Okay, cool. So, let's see. Let me just check. Holy emails. I got a bunch of emails to my personal email. Hold on a second. Getting through these real quick. Okay, cool. Got through them all. That was nice. Okay, now, I definitely have several things that I need to get done. Let's see. So check this out. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm checking Twitter. That's what I was doing. I'm such a terrible person. But yeah, just wanted to show this to you because not enough people are retweeting it. I don't know. Like, this is a big one. This one's awesome, and like lots of people really will benefit from this one. But it's not I guess a really retweetable one. But I worked on this hard because I made 4 egghead videos for this. That's 2, 3, and 4. So go and retweet this thing because it is great. But anyway, just getting a bunch of people quote retweeting it and stuff saying that it has been helpful to them. They've been working, struggling with this stuff. So anyway, whoa. So that's that. I'm almost done. Then I'll figure out what I want to do. Yeah, check this out. This is a good one. Loving how I can use vanilla DOM properties to text my test. I think you meant test my React components. I just wanted to check if the text content of something was what I wanted, and I used text content. What a world we live in. That's what I'm talking about. It's so nice. It is so nice. It is so nice. Okay. Oh, cool. Wonder who that was. Awesome. I hope it works out. Smiley face. What company is it? Does it say? No, it doesn't say. I know that we are kind of working with or negotiating with some companies right now. Okay, anyway. Is there a way to overwrite an initial state loading true and set it to false before executing my test using React testing library? Well, if I understand you correctly, then not really, but I could really help you more if you make a code RTL help. And this is my day. I spend my day here on Twitter telling people to go make a React code sandbox. Okay, let's see. So I've got a whole bunch of egghead videos that I need to make for the beginner's guide to React test or to React, and I need to record those. I might be able to do those right now. Yeah, I might. I need to run and do something really quick, and then I'll be back, and I think that's probably what I'll do. I also want to update the bookshelf app because I'll need that to be updated eventually, but that's lower priority. I really need to work on this beginner's guide thing. So I'll be back here in just a little bit, and yeah, and then we'll get started on that again. So be right back. Actually, I was gonna do that screen, but instead I'll do this coding screen so you can hear the cool music and stuff. right, I'm back. Hello. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to really quick tweet this that I'm doing this here. Okay, cool. And one other thing that I'm going to do actually, making a habit of doing this each and every day, is answering one question on my AMA via my podcast, my 3-minute podcast. So we're going to just stick that right there. I'll put it over here actually. Capturing DOM event. Component library testing. I just need to find a question that's a good candidate for audio answers, because my 3 minutes with Kent podcast is fun, but it doesn't really work very well if you don't have a question that's good for audio. So okay, I think this is a good one I can answer. Good morning, Will. Hi there. How are ya? Okay, so I'm just going to do this really quick, and then I'm going to get to Egghead Beginner React update. So here we go. Hello, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 4th, 2020, and I'm answering question number 750 on my AMA, Internal Component Library Testing. So, yeah, this person, shout a launch, which they don't have a name, but they're currently developing a small internal component library that's mostly without styling, except for some functional styling, whatever that means. I guess, yeah, hover, I don't know. So in that sense, the HTML we create in the library is part of the public API that the developer consumer use to style the components. Would you test the whole HTML structure of a component to make sure that contract is honored? What I would do is I would document, or like you probably have something in mind what you would want your, like what you expect people, or how you expect people to style these components. And so the fact that you wrap this in a div or in a span or something, the fact that those are the elements you're using are probably not what you want people to be styling against. More likely you'll be wanting them to style against specific class names that you have. And so what you'd probably want to do is just document, this is the way that we expect you to use this library, and then we're going to make sure that those class names are properly applied, or whatever the case may be, and then you can change everything else about it. And so if somebody starts relying on the fact that you render a div and then a paragraph tag or something like that, but then you change that for semantic reasons or otherwise, you can say, that wasn't part of the documented API. If you needed something to style that, then you should have opened up an issue and we can give you a new class name for it or something. But yeah, I think class names are like the de facto standard for styling, or the de facto API for styling. And so I think that it would make the most sense to just say you can only use the class names, and if you're using tags and the DOM structure to style, then you do so at your own risk. I realize that this question was asked months ago, so I hope that everything went okay. But hopefully this was helpful to other people as well. Have a wonderful day, and yeah, at least hopefully your day can be better than the day of the person who created the Iowa Caucus app. If you looked at the UI for those, it was clearly made by somebody who hasn't done much development, and so it just bothers me that like messes up people's vision of what software can do for our political system, because somebody just hired someone that had no idea what they were doing. But you know, what do you do? Have a good day. Goodbye. I have to make it done in like 3 minutes, and so if I start rambling, then I'm in danger of not finishing within 3 minutes. And like the service that I'm using does not let you go over 3 minutes. I'm not sure what would happen if I tried to go over 3 minutes, but they don't let you, so just got to be careful. Okay, let me just send this to my secret email address to publish. And then we can get going on the main thing for this live stream, which is finally updating Beginner's Guide. Been hanging over my head for a while now, and I'm so excited. Okay, All right, cool. And, oh, actually, I want to leave that open until we get the whatever thing, the thing published. And then I'm going to say, actually, I'll just, hi there. I answered this on my 3-minute podcast. Here you go. Whoops. Here you go. Refresh again. And come on again. It normally just takes like 5 minutes max. So while we're waiting for that, I can open up the terminal, and we're going to go to Beginner's Guide to React. I'm going to pop this open. Oh, I need to change the screen size since I'm going to be recording. This might mess up my live stream a little bit, so we'll see. There we go. I think it's up now. There it is. And here you go. And then closing comment. And then we'll add a label. Audio answer. I don't know why I label that, but I do. Okay, very good. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. Here's React Testing Library. Yeah, so I need to change the resolution of the screen that you're looking at, and that may mess up my live stream. We'll see, and if it does, I may just have to restart it, and you'll tune in here in just a sec. So here we go. Please work. Okay, so my screen's popped up. My other screen is not yet popped up for some reason. In fact, it's entering power save mode, which is not good. So this happened earlier. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change the screen resolution for that other screen, and maybe that'll just fix itself. Yep, there it is. Now let's go back, and here we go. All right, and then this screen is ultra small, so I'm going to just temporarily resize it. It looks kind of funny this way, but that is what it is. And there. That's close enough, right? All right, maybe there's like a little black on the edges, but no big deal. We'll be fine. Hey there, Jesse. Thanks for watching. I think it's hopefully interesting to people watching. So, yeah, what happened to my code? There it is. Here it is. We're gonna come here, and I already turned my my editor settings to the egghead settings because I recorded egghead last night for my blog post. And so yeah, all I need to do is let's close all, and then we'll go up to 0, 1. This is where we're gonna start. Sure wish that VS Code didn't mess up my highlighting of that, but you know, what do you do? So the first thing that I'm going to do actually is I'm going to come here, and we're going to go to Beginner React. I also am going to open this up and go to my update document. Yeah, I don't really have anything going on here in that regard, so we're probably good. But I just want to watch a couple of these things just to remind myself of what I did, so that I can make sure I don't miss anything that I need to make sure I do this time around, or I can make sure I change something that I did last time that I don't want to do this time. So. And I'm sorry, I still haven't, well, here, let me try this really quick, actually. Loop back. And I'm going to make, let's see. I'm going to add a new virtual device, call it Chrome. And then for this one, this source is going to be Google Chrome. And yeah, and then right here, let's add an audio input capture. Yes, Google Chrome. And it's going to be Chrome. Okay. And now,
index.html file that we can make.
Okay, so you can hear it, but I can't.
Changes to in our editor and load up directly in our browser.
Huh. That's interesting, and it's pretty loud too. So let's just turn that down.
There's no black magic going on with build tools or things you have to install. This way you won't be distracted by all those things and you can focus on learning React. And I'll show you how to use those things at the end of the course.
Okay.
The goal of
Now let's figure out how I can also hear this. I don't know how this works. What the? No. I'm confused. Delete. There we go. Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. I don't know how to use this thing. So we've got output. Oh, monitors. Here we go. So wait, this one. Okay, cool. Now let's try.
this course is to help developers, both new and experienced with React, gain an understanding of the fundamental concepts in React and how React works. We're not going to jump straight into React and JSX.
Okay.
Instead, we start out with a blank index.html file, and we don't even use React at all. Then we slowly add more and more React concepts into the course as we go. You'll gain an understanding for what the React aggregate element is, how JSX is a simple abstraction on top of it, and what Babel does to our JSX to make it work like regular JavaScript. This is to help you learn and understand how React really is just JavaScript, just objects and functions. And the slow progression through the course will help you to see not only useful React features, but also how those React features solve problems that you see in web applications. Doing things this way will help the knowledge stay more firmly in your mind, so you know what solutions to reach to when you're faced with specific problems. We'll cover the very basics of React and its common APIs all the way through state and the component lifecycle hooks.
I actually like this. So like recently in my intros, I've just done like me, my face on the camera, but I like having it just chop through some of the video of some of the lessons. So I think what I'll do is I'll just have me face on the video, and then I want to give a little tour of like how to get things set up if you want to follow along. And so like here's the repo, you can clone this and you can just open this up directly in your browser, or you can run this script if you have Node installed, and you'll have the exact same experience that the same thing that I'm doing. And then I'll probably just use lots of these same words that I'm using in here.
Lifecycle hooks, building using form elements, why React demands a key prop when you render an array of elements, and how to make HTTP requests with React. All the things you'll commonly face when making a real React application. Then we'll wrap up with a lesson on how to move from your index.html file to a more production-ready development environment with codesandbox.io and create React app. And finally, how to deploy your amazing applications to an amazing service like Netlify. I hope you enjoyed this course, and even more that you enjoy building awesome stuff with the knowledge it gives you.
Nice. Okay, cool. But I'm not going to do that. I always do the intro and then the outro last. So we're going to move on to this next video. And I just want to remind myself how I teach this and think about different ways that I could teach it. So, and I used to use Atom, and now I'm using VS Code. I think I'm going to stick with the dark theme. And I am going to want a browser tab. Take this right here, and let's do start. That has browser sync on 3000, and here we are. Okay, cool. So then we're gonna pop this DevTools thing open. Go on the bottom. Want the elements panel open, and the console, maybe just the elements. We'll want that bumped up a little bit. We'll want this bumped up a lot bit, 300%, so we don't really have anything other than hello world showing up here. And then we're going to start out with nothing on the page. In fact, we'll start out with absolutely nothing in the file. And I think that's how I started the whole thing, was just nothing in the file. So here we go.
By making a div with an ID of root. And then we'll have a script. And inside of the script, we're going to get the root element with document.getElement.
Can I do script these days? Script. No, whoops. Okay. Cool. Well, we'll just do, and I do want to specify the type because in the future video, we have to change the type to text babel. So it'll just be easier to do that if we already have the type there. And I don't have to explain the type stuff. So
by ID of root, and then we're going to create a new element that will append to the root that just says hello world. So we'll say const element equals document.create element div, and then we'll say element.text content equals hello world, and element.class name equals container, just for fun. And then we'll say root element.append child element. We'll save that, refresh, and poof, we have our hello world. Most excellent. Now, with React, it's actually pretty similar. We're going to have a create element method that we'll call. We can provide a couple properties onto our element, and then we're going to render it. We don't use append child, but we'll use a render method. So the first thing that we need to do is get ourselves React onto this page, and we'll stick those here in script
okay,
text.
so in this version, I went straight from the DOM to React, but in the updated version, I'm going to actually have React on a separate in a separate video. So we'll just iterate from what we build here into this. So that's good to.
And these are going to expose the React global and the React DOM global, which we can provide a couple properties onto our element, and then we're going to render it. We don't use append child, but we'll use a render method. So the first thing that we need to do is get ourselves React onto this page, and we'll stick those here in script tags. And these are going to expose the React global and the React DOM global, which we'll use to recreate this using React APIs. So I'm going to go ahead and comment these out, and we'll start creating this from React. So we'll say our element now is equal to react.create element, and the element is going to be a div, and the class name is going to be container, and then the text content is going to be hello world. And then we're going to say react DOM.render our element to the root element. And if we save this, we're going to get exactly the same thing. So let's go ahead and take a look at what element is. We'll save that. And here we'll see that it's just this object that has this weird type of property and a couple other properties here. And then this props. And this one's actually pretty important. It has a children prop, and that's our hello world. So that's our last argument here. And then it has a class name prop, and that's the container. So it looks like we've got kind of a merge of this object here with whatever we pass here. And we can actually pass any number of arguments for the rest of this API call. So goodbye world, and I'll save that, refresh here. And if we see in our props, we're going to have children as an array that has both of those things. So what's interesting here is we could actually remove these and create a children prop here and paste them into there, and we'll get exactly the same output here. We have the props that has the class name and the children, and so we can switch this back to just hello world as well, and that's going to give us this back. And so React create element API is as simple as the element that you want to create, and then an object that has all of the props that you want to have applied. And just as kind of a convenience, you can provide the children as any number of arguments after the props argument as well.
Okay. Let me refresh here and see if Egghead wants to boot me off. Yeah, that's weird. Try this again. And I'm actually going to go open the window because it's getting hot. I think my computer is like, what are you doing? You are streaming and you're watching a video in Chrome and you have VS Code open and you have YouTube open and you have your email open and I don't know what to do. So that's what's happening right now. Okay. There we go. Let's refresh now. Oh, oops. I don't want it to be on login page. I want to be on beginner React. That's where I want to go. Maybe Egghead is having some issues. That is quite possible. So what we're going to do, oh, wait, there it was. Issues. I'm already signed in. Well, great. That's what I want. I want to be signed in already. And okay, great. Okay. We just finished this one. I'm going to just watch one more and then we'll start recording.
Writing our entire app using React.createElement is totally possible, but it's not entirely ergonomic. So the React team created JSX to allow us to write our UI in a way that's a little bit more familiar to us. This is called JSX, and it looks similar to HTML and behaves in similar ways. And so we're going to convert this to use JSX. So let's
so that whole, I never liked the way that I said that. That whole thing was kind of funny. What are the specs on your machine that let you run all that at once? Yeah, so I souped up my MacBook Pro as much as I could. The only thing I didn't max out was the storage space. So go max out a MacBook right now. I just got this a couple months ago. Max that out, and that's my machine. It's a monster. But it makes it possible for me to do this, so that's why I did that.
Do that. I'm gonna just comment this out, and we'll say constant element equals div. And we want the class name to be container, and then the children to be hello world, and then we'll close off that div, and we'll save that, and when we refresh, we're gonna get a syntax error. So this is actually not JavaScript syntax at all, this is JSX, and so it needs to be transpiled into this React create element call, and we can use Babel to do this. So normally to do this, you'd have a build system set in place with Webpack or something like that, but we're just going to use Babel standalone so that we can do this right in the browser without having any sort of build system. So I'll go ahead and paste a script tag there that brings in Babel standalone, and then I'm gonna change this from text JavaScript to text Babel to make that work. So now I refresh, and I get hello world. Perfect, and it all looks exactly the same. The HTML output is exactly the same as we had before with the class container, and so now with this new syntax, we can do a couple of tricks, and it looks a little bit nicer. It's easier to.
Here, let me make sure of something. So I just noticed like I have to scroll back and forth, and I think it would be better to not have to scroll back and forth. If it meant that I could, or like to shrink the text size by a little bit if it meant I didn't have to scroll back and forth as much. So, yeah, what I think I am going to do, because that's my 80 character mark. We go down, down, down. That's how much I have to go to get to 80 characters. So I think I'll just do it at this level, which I think is actually it. Nope. Yeah, that's like -1. And I think, like, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's actually a pretty good font size for what we're trying to accomplish here. I also just occurred to me that I should probably double check that this is the latest version of React. Indeed, that appears to be the case. So, okay. Yeah, so there's just a little bit over here, but it's not very common that I'd actually need to do that. And let me just make sure, yeah, prettier still working, which is good. Okay, I am gonna now close the window because it is freezing outside. It's 25 degrees, I think. I don't know why I just looked at my watch. I guess my watch can show me that. But yeah, 22 degrees right now. Very cold outside. So now I'm going to close the window, get a drink, and then we'll get started on this. All right, cool. Here we go. So we're not going to be 0.2, we're on 0.1. And we do have our browser sync thing running. So let's see. The key points I want to talk about here is we're just in an index.html file. We're going to create UI with JavaScript. We're going to make a script tag with text JavaScript as the type. We need to have a root node. We'll get the we'll create a new DOM node with the actually, hold on a second. Yeah, still I'm doing class name and the text content. Then we'll append to the root, and I'm calling it root element. Yeah, this is something I always forget, and maybe I should just pull this up. Git browse. I'm gonna pull this up elsewhere. Over here, just so I can reference it in case I need to. Okay. cool. And back here, div ID of root. Okay, here we go. Screen flow. Actually, we don't want the URL bar either, so we'll just do full screen there. Very good. All right, wish me luck. Okay, here we go. To create a user interface with JavaScript, we're going to need a body tag right here, and we'll have a div with an ID of root, and that's where the root of our application is going to live. And then we'll make a script tag, and we'll have a type of text JavaScript. And then inside of this script tag, we need to get access to this div, and so we're going to call that our root element, and that'll be document.getElement by ID root. And oh my goodness, why is syntax highlighting not showing up? What the devil? Okay, hold on a second. It zoomed me, and let's do 0. Oh, I think this needs to be -1. Okay. And syntax highlighting is not working. Oh, test JavaScript. My bad. Ah, okay. I'm going to stop ScreenFlow here really quick because I don't want to store that waste of time on my computer. And we're going to start over. Site can't be reached. Ah, glad I thought to refresh that. There we go. Now refresh. There we go. One error. What's that? Favicon, for goodness sake. That is annoying. Right, whatever. We don't need the console anyway. And the title of this video is going to be Create a User Interface with Vanilla JavaScript and DOM. So to start, we're going to need a body. And then inside of here, we're going to have a div with an ID of root. And that's where our application is going to be mounted. And then we'll have a script. And our type for our script is going to be text JavaScript. And then inside of here, we need to get access to this div. So I'm going to make a variable called root element. That'll be document.getElement by ID root. And then I want to append. And then I'm going to take this root element and append a child. And we need to append an element to this. So let's create that element with document.createElement. We'll make it a div. And then for this element, we want the text. And then for this element, we want the text content to be hello world. I couldn't remember if it was a capital W that I'd used or not. And then just for fun, we'll have the element.class name equal container. We'll save that. We'll get a refresh here. We should have gotten a refresh here. Bummer. Okay, now it's working. Shoot, and I can't remember where my cursor was. Okay. I think I can splice that together. This is fine. So we'll save that, get a refresh here, and oh, no, we don't want it to say worlds though. Here we go. So we'll save that and get a refresh here, and now we have hello world. And if we look at the output, we have one thing from that browser sync, but then here is our application at the root. And that's the div we created with the class name of container and the text content of hello world. And then here's our JavaScript code that we wrote. And I think that's all I really need to say, and we can review this. So in review, to create a user interface, in JavaScript, you need to have a place where you're going to append your JavaScript DOM node. You're going to need to have a place where you append your JavaScript generated DOM elements. We're going to get access to that element from the document APIs. And then we'll create our own element. We'll add some properties onto that element, and then we'll append that element to our root element. Yep, and that's the end. Okay, very good. So I'm just over here on ScreenFlow now. Whoa. This is a very small screen. And what I do is I always set the mix to mono, even though the way that I'm pretty sure that the device that I'm using, yeah, it only takes one input channel and then it outputs stereo channels that are equal, which used to be a big problem. I did all sorts of things to deal with, like the fact that this microphone is mono, and it goes into the computer as mono, and then like people watching the live stream would only hear it on their left side, and like, what's going on? So that was a bit of an issue, but I got this thing, and now it's just going into the computer as stereo, but I still like to just set it as mono because there's no reason to do anything else. And then I also smooth volume levels so that it just normalizes the volume, just bumps it up. I probably could bump up the volume at the source here, but I don't want it to be too loud because that would not be good. So great, now we're just going to save this, and yeah, we've got a bunch of these folders. So this is on my NAS. That's just a mounted drive on my computer. And I just started exporting directly to the NAS, and now I've got a bunch of folders from ScreenFlow, which is kind of weird. I'm kind of thinking I should start saving my ScreenFlow files on the NAS, but as soon as I've published something on Egghead, I don't really care about having the ScreenFlow file anymore. Even though I store it, but like I wouldn't be totally bummed out if I didn't have that ScreenFlow file anymore. So like I'd probably just want to re-record if I needed to. I don't know. Maybe there's some good reasons to not do that. But like all my testing JavaScript, like I just got this new computer in December, I think, and all of my old ScreenFlow files are gone. And I could have saved them, but I didn't really care to. Maybe I should have. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to make a new folder right here called Beginner's Guide to React. And then we're going to make this 01 document create element. And there we have it. It is saving, and it is now saved. Sweet. So I'm not going to bother editing this one right now. Often I do like to edit as I go, but because like if I need to make a change or something, it's easier because I'm already in the same context and frame of mind and everything. But I'm not quite it would be really easy for me to ramp back up on this little project, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so moving on to the next, we're going to take all of this stuff, go to the React Create Element API. Actually, one other thing I'm going to do here is look at the Git status. Yeah, so I've finished exactly the same way as it is in the repo, so that's good. I'm just going to copy paste this over here. We're going to go back to 02, and here we are with 02. So now, now I'm going to open up in this other, on this other screen, React Create Element, and I'm going to put the script tags in my clipboard. And one thing that I didn't do in this video, in the original, that I'm going to do this time is show people the unpackaged service, and just show that we can get any npm module from unpackage. I'll just show both of those. So we'll just do that. Very good. And then we'll just use React create element and it'll work out great. Here we go. To use React to create this user interface, we're going to need to have React on the page, and we can get React from npm, but there's a service called unpackage that we're going to use. So if I go to unpackage.com, that will show me how to use unpackage to get any file that is distributed on npm. And it has these files for React, and if I go to that file, then I'll see a minified version of React. So let's go ahead and add some script tags to our page here so that we get React on the page. And with React and React DOM both on the page, I can now create React elements and then use React DOM to render those elements to the page. So I'm going to comment all of this out. And then with React DOM, I'm going to render my element to the root element. But the element that I provide is not going to be a DOM element that I create with the document. Instead, it's going to be a React create element that I create with React. And the API is not exactly the same as the one that we get with document. We do get the first, we do get to specify the type of element as the first argument. But instead of getting the element and attaching properties to it, we actually specify those properties on creation as an object. And another difference is instead of text content, we specify children. So here we'll specify our children as hello. So here we'll specify our children as hello world. And then the class name will be container. And this is going to give me my element, which I will render with React DOM to the root element. So if we save this, we'll get a page refresh. And you may not have even noticed that because it's rendering exactly the same thing that we had before. So if we come down here to root, we'll see our div with the class container and the text content hello world. We'll also see those two script tags that we added to add React and React DOM onto the page, and then our own JavaScript that we wrote to create this user interface. So in review, to create raw React elements, no, let's not review yet. So let's take a look at what this element is. If it's not a DOM node, then what is it? We'll console.log the element, save that, and then we'll come over here to our console, and we'll see that we have a $$ type of property that's a simple, and that's just something for React to keep track of what. And that's just something for React to know that this is, and that's just something for React to know that this object is a, and that's something for React to know that this object is a legitimate React element. We know that the type is a div. And there are a couple other properties that are used by React internally. And then this props object is what we passed as our second argument here with the children and the class name. There's something really interesting about this children prop that I want to show you here. So you can write this same thing as a third argument to React create element by simply providing the value for the children prop. So here we can provide hello world. And those are functionally equivalent. So if we look at the React element here, we look at our props, and we still are getting children is hello world. And then if you provide another element, in this, and then if you provide another argument, that will be an additional child. So we can say, comma, goodbye world. Save that. We'll get a refresh and we see hello world, goodbye world, and we get our element, and we get our element's props to be children as an array. And we can continue going on through children forever and ever, or we could take these and use the children prop directly like this, specifying it as an array ourselves. And you'll see that the result here is the same. This also gives us the flexibility. This also gives us the flexibility of creating additional React elements to be children. So here I could say react.create element span. We could say we want no props for this span, and we want the children to be hello and world. So we have the type of span, the props are null, the children are an array of hello and world. If we expand this, we'll see props, children, and children is just another React element that itself has props, and that children is an array of two elements, is an array of two strings. In review, to create React elements and render them to the page, you need to include React and React DOM, React for creating the elements, and React DOM for rendering those elements to the page. Then we still need to get access to some element that's on the page so we can render our component, so we can render our elements to that, DOM node. And then we create our React elements, and we use React DOM.render to render our element, to render our root element to the root DOM node. The end. That was good. Let me just save this really quick. This will be 0.2. React create element. I feel really good about that one. There were some things that I dove into that I didn't dive into before on the first one, and I think it'll be a good thing for people's learning. So save that, close this, and I noticed somebody mentioned or asked a comment. Yeah, this is a new course for Egghead, or it's an updated course for Egghead, and that is the Beginner's Guide to React. So just updating an existing course. Okay, cool. So just undo all of this stuff. That's where we end up. I'm going to copy this, come down to my JSX. I'm going to paste in here. Now this one's going to be a little bit more tricky. I'm going to review the video, but there's like several things that I'm going to teach about that do not appear in the final version of the code. So I'm going to like dive into things. We need to talk about Babel standalone. Updating this to text Babel, and I didn't explain why that was necessary, but I'm going to explain why this time. I'm showing prop spreading right here. I'm kind of thinking maybe I should end on just regular props, but yeah, in fact, let's do that right now. So we're going to say class name, container, and hello world. There we go. Okay, fine. There we go. And let's go back. Whoops. Yeah. Go back here. I'm going to go to 0.3. And yeah, and then we can get rid of all this stuff. Save that. Okay. And let's git commit. Fix up JSX. Okay. Good. So then I gotta go over here. 0.3 JSX, just so I have that as a reference. I'm gonna copy Babel standalone, so I can compile in the browser. Oh, that was, we're gonna get rid of that actually. Hold on. I'm gonna paste all that. There we go. And yeah, so then I'm gonna have that in my clipboard, so I can just paste the unpackage URL. And Yeah, let me just review the JSX thing that I do in here.
Our app using React.create element is totally possible, but it's not entirely ergonomic. So the React team created JSX to allow us to write our UI in a way that's a little bit more familiar to us. This is called JSX, and it looks similar to HTML and behaves in similar ways. And so we're going to convert this to use JSX. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to just comment this out, and we'll say const element equals div. And we want the class name to be container, and then the children to be hello world, and then we'll close off that div, and we'll save that, and when we refresh, we're going to get a syntax error. So this is actually not JavaScript syntax at all, this is JSX, and so it needs to be transpiled into this React create element call, and we can use Babel to do this. So normally to do this, you'd have a build system set in place with Webpack or something like that, but we're just going to use Babel standalone so that we can do this right in the browser without.
Okay, so what I'm going to do right from the get-go here is we're going to go to Babel, what is it called? Babel.js.org. Yeah, see, ever since I switched my profile, what the devil? What? Babel. Yes. JS.io. My bad. Okay, so we're going to go to right out. There we go. REPL. Time travel. Whoa. That's fancy. Things look a little bit different. When I saw it. We're going to remove this and remove this. Have const element equals div class name container hello world div. There we go. And do we have prettier on here? Prettyfy. There we go. That is great. Oh, it just prettifies the output. I want to prettify the input. That's too bad. Oh well. So good. So we can prettify that. That's nice. Evaluate. No, it's going to just say React is not defined. Let's turn that off. File size. Ooh, nice. Time travel. What is time travel? Oh, that's right. Yeah. So here we are. And then we update that. And then, oh, and then we exit. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Let's just turn that off. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's turn that off. And I kind of feel like, oops. I feel like I should bump this up. Bump it that far. That looks good. We'll just take that out. There we go. And I'll make sure to include a link to the Babel REPL there. So, okay, cool. Here we go. Wish me luck. Using React to create, Using React to create elements in this way works out just fine, but it's not entirely ergonomic, and it's not the way that most of the community interacts with, and it's not the way that most of the community creates React elements. Most of the community is using JSX, which is an HTML-like syntax in our JavaScript. So if I were to create this same React element using JSX, I would make it like this. We'll say element is a div, and our children are hello world. And then we had a class name, which is a prop, so that'll go as an attribute on our div here with class name container. So if we save that, we'll get a refresh, and we'll get a white screen here, and that's because we have a syntax error in our JavaScript. And that's because this is not JavaScript code, this is JSX, and the browser does not understand this natively. So it needs to be compiled. So it needs to be compiled from this to something that the browser can understand. Hold on a second. And that's where Babel comes in. Babel is a JavaScript compiler supporting the next generation of JavaScript as well as non-standard features like JSX. So if we go to this try it out, if we go to this try it out page and then go over here and copy our code and paste it in here, then we'll see that our code is being compiled to something that's very familiar to us. React create element, type is div, here are the props, class name is container, and then all of the children come hereafter. Typically in your application, you're going to be using a tool that will compile. Typically in an application, you're going to be using a tool that will compile with Babel for you. I don't like the blinking in the console. That'll mess up my edits a little bit, but that's okay. In a typical application, you're going to be using a tool that will use Babel to compile JSX to JavaScript for you. But for our purposes, we're going to use Babel in the browser to get this compiling our JavaScript right here without having to install any other tools. So I'm going to add a script tag here. So I'm going to add a script tag right here to include Babel standalone, and that will compile any script tag that has the type of text Babel. And then it will create a new script tag with the compiled code with the type as text JavaScript so that the browser can evaluate it. So with that, if I save this, we'll get Babel downloaded. It will evaluate our JavaScript. It will compile our JavaScript and allow the browser to evaluate it so we can use JSX in the browser. We'll also get this warning that we're using the in-browser Babel transformer, which is not something that you would want to do in production. But it makes it really easy for us to iterate quickly right here in this index.html file. And if we take a look at the elements, we're going to see the Babel JavaScript. We're going to see the code that we wrote in this text Babel script. And then if we go to the head, we'll see a new script tag in here, which is the compiled version of our code. Yeah, and there's a bunch of JSX tricks that I want to show too. This video is already kind of long. I think it'll be okay to show some of these tricks in this same video. So now I want to show you a few tricks. Now I want to show you a few JSX tricks that you'll find pretty useful. So if we wanted to create a variable for hello world and we wanted to interpolate that variable's value into the children position, then I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We'll make this our children. And then we'll come in here, and to interpolate, we're going to use curly braces and put children in here. And anything you put between these two curly braces can be a JavaScript expression. And whatever that expression evaluates to is the value that gets placed into this position for the React create element call. So we can do the same thing for our class name. If I copy the container, make a class name variable, and then instead of the quotes here, we'll put curly braces to suggest to the Babel compiler that we want this value to be evaluated as an expression. And then we'll pass the class name variable. And if we save this, then we'll get the exact same result as we had before. And you can see And you can see the compiled version of the code here in our script tag, where we see we have our children is a variable, our class name is a variable, our element is an assignment to React create element with our div, and then our object where we have class name being assigned to the variable class name. And we could rename this to whatever we want. We could say my class name, I just want that typing to be more smooth. We could say my class name, and then copy this and paste it in there. And if we save this, we'll get a refresh. And there it is. My class name is being assigned to the class name property of our object here. And then children is the same thing. So we could say my children. We get a refresh, and there it is. Oh, my bad. Dang it. My children, we could say my children, save that, we get a refresh, and there it is. My children being passed as my children. So when you use the curly braces, that's basically telling Babel, leave this alone and pass it directly as the property that you pass for the props here and for the children arguments here. And if we wanted to split these up, then we could do so with world child and do world child. Put them side by side just like that. And we'll get my children and world child. Except it's not rendering. What? We get an error? Yeah, I spelled it wrong. I think I can recover from this, okay. Except to get it to render, you actually need to spell things correctly. That's really important in programming. There we go. Again, anything between these curly braces is game. So I could make curly braces and do a template literal and then say hello and then say world child right here. And here I'm using a template literal and using template literal interpolation within the interpolation of my JSX. And if I save that, then we're going to get hello world and then hello world. And the way that is compiled is it's just passed as an additional argument to create element. And then we have our template literal being compiled as well. And this allows us to be really expressive with the way that we're building our UI. So if we want to add another React element in here, all we need to do is add a span. We can say hello, span, and then we could do a strong, world, strong. We can get rid of these, save that, and here we go. We get hello, world. And Babel is managing compiling that down to JavaScript that the browser can execute using React APIs. In review, what we did here was we took some raw React.createElement API calls, and we used JSX instead. To use JSX in the browser, we have to use Babel standalone, but typically in your applications, you're going to be using a tool that will use Babel or some similar tool under the hood. Babel will compile this JSX to JavaScript that will be understood by the browser, which is our React create element calls. And this gives us a syntax that makes a syntax that's a lot easier to write and maintain. Yep, that's it. Okay, that one was a long one, 11 minutes. Actually, that's not all that long. I've had much longer. I've had like videos that were recorded a half hour and then chopped down to like 7 minutes. So yeah, this one will probably be relatively long, but it's okay. I think we gave a lot of really helpful information. And it just occurred to me that I forgot to talk about spreading rats. Oh, dang it. Here, I'm gonna add that in. So let's come back here, find out where my cursor was before I started doing the review. Okay, so my cursor was sitting right around here. Let's see. Okay, so this was over here. I had that selected, and my pointer was down right over the E. Okay. What a bummer. I don't like having problems like this. There's another useful trick. There's another useful JSX trick that I want to show you, and that is if you have an object of props that you want to provide to an element, you can do so in a really simple way. So let's come back to our children is hello world, and we'll just call this class name. We'll get rid of this. We'll change this to class name, and then we'll interpolate children here. One important thing to remember is that children is just a special prop that we could actually provide right here. Children is children. And with that, it works exactly the same way as it did before, except now instead of being compiled to add additional arguments, it's just using the shortcut here as one of the props. In addition, because this is JSX and not HTML, we can have self-closing tags for divs. So we can save that, and this is self-closing. Another thing we can do is if I make an object here where we have our props, we're going to make children and class name part of those props. Then I can come right here, remove all of those, and I say, hey, Babel, I want you to take all of these props and pass them to the element you're going to the React create element call that you pass to the React create element call that you create for this div. So we'll interpolate onto this div's props. So we'll interpolate onto this div's props position a spread of that props object. If we save that, then we can take a look at the compiled version of this. We get our props object, we have React create element, and it just passes the props directly. And then I can add additional props if I want to. I could say ID app root, save that. And in this case, we're going to get the extends helper, which is basically just object.assign. And then Babel is going to extend the props that we provided with the props that we're spreading. So we get a single combined object for the second argument of the React create element call. And because of the way that object.assign works, if we wanted to override one of the properties in this props object, then we could do so simply by providing it after we spread those props in the props position for this element. So we can say class name not container. Save that. And then if we look at the compiled version, we'll see our extends for the props that come before the spread. Then we'll see that object, and then we'll see another object for the props that come after the spread. And then if we look at the result, under our root, we'll see we have the ID of app root and the class of not container. App root because It's not getting overridden, so it appears as is. We get the children as they are, because the children are not being overridden. But then we get the class name of not container, because we are overriding the class name that's in the props, which comes before class name. So whatever comes last is the winner in the event of a conflict, like we have here. This gives us a really declarative and expressive API that allows you to mix and match props objects in a deterministic way. And I think I'm just going to do my own review. I don't think I can use that other one. In review, what we did here was we had a react.createElement call that we were creating manually, and we wanted to use JSX so we could have a much easier API to deal with. And we wanted to use JSX so we could have a much simpler syntax to deal with. To do that in the browser, we needed to include Babel standalone so we could compile our JavaScript, so we could compile our JSX to React create element calls, which the browser can evaluate. To do this, we had to update this type to be text Babel, but typically you're not going to be including Babel standalone or using text Babel in your applications, and instead you'll be using a tool like Webpack, and instead you'll be using another tool which uses Babel to compile the JSX to React create element calls. And with JSX, we can interpolate values, spread props, and write our UI similar to how we write our HTML. Boom. Okay, that was pretty good. I'm really glad that I added that. We're going to add this to the document. Going to drag that down here. Going to drag this over here. And I'm going to set mix to mono and smooth audio levels. We'll save this and close it. Okay, good. Okay. I'm getting some good platonic love from Ireland. Thank you, Ramus. Thanks for the encouragement. I appreciate that. And all the other 23 viewers, thanks for watching. It's kind of making me feel like, hey, people actually care. It's fun. And Danny, thank you very much as well. Okay, cool. So I think that went really well. That was a good one. So we're going to come back here and reset everything. I'm going to copy this, come over to 04, and paste it all right here. And, you know, if there was one thing that I feel like I should have done, I should have said that people should spend time playing around in the Babel REPL to like learn how this syntax works, but that's okay. All right, this is very good. Now, we're going to do fragments, which I did not do in my first one because fragments weren't really a thing at the time. So let's move on to fragments. Let's say that instead of rendering a div with a class name container and then hello world, we wanted to render two spans side by side, one that says hello and the other that says world. So let's first do this with React create element, and then we'll see how we could do this with JSX. So I'm going to make my element, and this is going to be, actually no, we can't do this with React create element without learning about fragments first. Oh, you know what? That actually will work. We'll make our element, and this is going to be react.createElement span. And we don't need any props. And then we'll say hello. And we'll need another element. We'll call this our world element. And let's call this one our hello element. And this one will say world. And then we need to render those side by side. I don't know how we do that. Let's say hello element and world element. No, that's not going to work. Oh shoot, I'm on the wrong page. 4. No, it doesn't look like that's going to work very well. Yeah, how do you put two elements? Yeah, how do you put two variables side by side and pass them both as the first argument? Well, it's impossible. And so this is why the React team has a special... No. Well, it's impossible. But if we were to do this in HTML, it would be pretty straightforward. We'd just say span hello and span world. And that would work just fine. Let's actually get rid of both of those, save that. And let's do world element. I just want to get it back to and hello and world, because it flashed hello world and then it went to hello, and I don't want to have to explain the reason that happened. It's because once React got rendered and ran, that got updated, so I don't want to explain that. So this is straightforward to do in HTML, but it's actually not possible to do. But it's actually not possible to do with React. Which is why the React team created a special type of element called a React fragment. And the React fragment is a special type of element that you pass to the create element API. So we can say react.create element. React fragment is the type. And then we don't need any props for it. And then we can provide both of our children. So let's put this down here. We'll take our hello element, pass that as the first child, and world element, pass that as the second child. And then this is going to get our element that we're going to render. And with that, we have the output that we're expecting. And we could also add an extra element, and we could also add an extra child in here to give us an extra space. But again, nobody wants to use the React Create Element API directly, so let's comment this out and see what this would look like if we wanted to do it with JSX. So our root element is this React fragment. So we'll say React. We'll do an open bracket and say React.fragment. And we'll close that off with React fragment. And then everything we put in between here, say, and then we'll want to create a span for hello. So span, hello, span. And then we'll do a space, and then span, world, and close that off. And if we save this, we're going to get the exact same output. And we're using our React fragment element. Now let's take a look at the compiled JSX here. And you'll notice that we get our element with React create element, and it's just passing React.fragment. And it's just passing React.fragment as a first argument to React create element, whereas these, the tag name, is being passed as a string. The reason that's happening is because I'm not sure if I want to explain that right now. I didn't think about this, but yeah, it's okay. The reason that's happening is because the first character, no, I'm not going to explain it right now. There's actually lots of reasons for this, so I think I can chop it off from wherever it was and start something new. So So the React fragment allows us to group. So the React fragment allows us to put elements side by side without having to have some sort of container element like a div. And this can be really useful when you're creating things like tables that have a very specific structure to them. And that's it. Yep. That's all. Oh, shoot. No, it's not all. I need to show this special syntax. What's wrong with you, Kent? Let's do this. And where was my cursor? Okay, so it's right here. Because this is so common to do, JSX has a special syntax for React fragments. And that is to simply remove the React fragment and have an open and closing bracket. Those aren't brackets, angle bracket. An open and closing curly bracket. No, not curly bracket. An open and closing curly, no, not curly, angle. An open and closing angle bracket. And this is functionally equivalent to what we had before. This syntax is typically what I use. This syntax is typically what I use if I'm using React fragments. This syntax is typically what I use whenever I use React fragments. This syntax is typically what I use whenever I need React. This syntax is typically what I use whenever I need React fragments. Okay, add that to the document. There we go. Good. Whoops. Bring that down. Sorry, I'm not doing this on the screen you can see because the screen you can see is super small. And so it's hard to do this. So I'm just going to do this over here. It's really quick, and I showed you what I'm doing the first time. So yeah, if you're really curious, you can take a look. It's not very exciting. Okay, 04, and this is fragments. Save that. Okay, nice. And on to the next. And actually, you know what? I'm going to, in the final version, I have it like this, but I'm going to leave that space in there. So we'll save this. Git commit, improve fragments, and we need to add same time. So, okay, then push that. Change. And then we're going to go to 05, custom components. And then this one, we're actually going to start a little bit different. Okay, very good. It is hot again. I need to close my vent. I think the rest of the house isn't aware that this room gets hot because I have the lights and the everything, so I'm going to close the vent. I'll be right back. But sometimes it gets cold, so that's why I have the vent open. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Actually, I'm also going to do one other thing. Okay, sweet. So we're on lesson number 5. Hello world, goodbye world. And we've got our elements, we've got our compiling stuff. We'll want to see that as well. I actually did not plan on showing the compiled output as much. I was mostly planning on going to the Babel REPL and copy pasting a lot, but it's just right here. It's awesome. I mean, it's compiling more than I want it to. Like it's compiling const var and template literals and stuff like that. But I think it's a lot better than just going back and forth. Like, okay, let's look at what that looks like when you compile it, whatever. This is what it looks like when you compile it. I wish that Babel standalone allowed me to specify the plugins that I wanted to apply. It probably does, but I didn't. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm pretty sure actually it does. You just add like attributes onto here or something, and it allows you to specify plugins or something. But I didn't want to get too complicated here. I want to make it as simple as possible. Okay. So actually, I haven't watched this one in a little bit, so let's just watch this one really quick to make sure that I teach it right or don't miss anything that I taught last time.
So here I have a div with a child that has hello world in it. We're going to go ahead and duplicate these, and we'll see we have 2, but I don't want to repeat myself, so I'm going to actually extract this to a variable called hello world, and then
that's a good idea. So we'll start out with that.
Just interpolate that directly in my JSX. So I refresh, I see exactly the same thing. Now let's say that I wanted one of them to say hello world and the other to say goodbye world. Well, in JavaScript, when we want to reuse code and parameterize that code, we use a function. So I'm going to use an arrow function here, and this arrow function is going to take an argument. I'm going to call that props. And props is going to be an object that is going to have a message property on it. So I'll say props.msg message, and I'll go ahead and change this function to message. And then in the place of hello world here, I'm going to say message with an object with an msg prop, and that's going to be hello world. And we'll do the same here, message with msg goodbye world. And we'll do that. Refresh here, and we'll have hello world and goodbye world. So sweet, we've been able to take some JSX, wrap it in a function, and make a function call to message there. Unfortunately, function calls don't really compose quite as well as JSX does, so let's see how we can turn this into JSX to make it compose a little bit better. JSX compiles down to react.createElement calls. So let's start out with react.createElement and see how we can convert that to JSX. One neat thing about the react.createElement API is that it can not only take a string indicating what element we want to have rendered, like div or span, but it can also take a function, and it will pass the props to the function, and that function presumably will render some more elements. In our case, the message function is rendering a div. So with that in mind, the function that we want to create an element out of is this message function, and the props we're going to pass is this object that has the message property for hello world. So if I save that and refresh, we see that everything is working just fine. So let's go ahead and update the goodbye world as well, and everything's working great with that too. So when we wanted to switch from React Create Element with a quotes div to JSX div, we simply wrote open caret div. And so let's go ahead and do open caret message here and see what happens with that. We're going to see a warning that says that the tag message is unrecognized in the browser, and if I go here, I'm going to see that message is actually being rendered. And that's not exactly what I'm really going for here. I want to render my component. I want to have this function called using React Create Element. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening here. We're going to go to the Babel REPL, because remember, it's Babel that's transpiling this JSX statement into a React Create Element.
Yeah, and I don't think I'll have to go to the Babel REPL.
We're going to see it's React Create Element with quotes message, and that's why this message isn't being referenced. If I put this up
maybe
here, the reason is that we have this variable message, but it's using a string message. And so for JSX to differentiate whether you're talking about a variable that's in scope or a raw DOM element, you need to capitalize your component. And so now it's going to be referencing some variable name that I have available to me. And so in this case, I'll capitalize the M, and now this message is being referenced in this create element call. So if we apply that to our scenario, we're going to just remove this here, and I'm going to take both of these, do a capital M, we'll open a caret there, and then we'll do a self-closing element here. Then let's go back, we'll remove some of this JavaScript syntax in favor of JSX, and if we save that, we'll refresh. And of course, we do need to capitalize our component too. And then we have exactly what we're looking for. We have this hello world and goodbye world referencing the message component that we created. And now we can reuse this all over the place, and we can compose these things together. Particularly if we were to change the MSG prop to the children prop, we'd say children, and then we can change MSG to children here. We refresh, and we get the exact same thing. And the nice thing about the children prop is we can use it just like we would regular HTML as part of the child of this message component. And so now we can compose these things together quite nicely. I could even put a message within a message, and if we look at the resulting HTML, we're going to see that we have our container, then we have our first message component, we have that string message hello world, and then we have another message component with the string goodbye world. So to review, to create a component that is reusable throughout your application and as composable as any other of the JSX that you have available to you, is you create a function that has a capital letter as the first character, and then that will receive props, and you can use those props in whatever it is that you return, and then you're going to return some React elements, and then you can use those just like you do with the div or span or anything else that you do with JSX.
Boy, that was pretty good, actually. It's a shame that I have to update this because it's dark mode now. So okay, yeah, I think we're good. Let's make this thing happen. Actually, I'm gonna remove that. There we go. No, let's leave that in. Okay. So here we have this div with a class name container, and we have this div with a class name message in here that says hello world. Let's say that I wanted to have, I don't know, maybe 2 of those. So now we have hello world, and then I don't want to repeat myself, right? So I'm going to make a const message here that is that hello world, and we'll put that in place of here, message. Just interpolate that there, and now I'm not repeating myself, which is good. But what if I wanted one of these to say hello world and the other to say goodbye world? Well, we need to parameterize this somehow. And when we do that in JavaScript, we create a function. So I'll make an arrow function here, and we'll accept an object. We'll call it props. And then whatever that props.msg or props.message value is what we'll interpolate into the children prop for this div that we create. So now, instead of just putting message in there directly, we're going to call it with an object, and we'll use msg is hello world, and then we'll do this one, msg goodbye. Whoops. Goodbye world. Save that, and we get hello world and goodbye world, which is awesome. But again, this is not really ergonomic. It doesn't look very good, and one of the benefits to using JSX is the ability for our UI to resemble the declarative nature of HTML. So what I'd really like to be able to do is say message here, and then hello world and message. But if I try to do that, you'll notice we actually do get the hello world, but we're going to get a console warning here saying the tag message is unrecognized in this browser. If you meant to render a React component, start its name in an uppercase letter. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you very much. So let's learn more about that. If we look at the compiled version of our, if we look at the compiled version of our code, we're going to see our message function that's returning a React element that's creating a div. And then if we come down here, we're going to see React create element message as a string. So that's problematic because we don't want to have the message as a string to create a DOM node, to create a DOM element that is a message type element. We actually want it to use this function so that we can use this function to create additional React elements. And so as the warning suggests, we need to use an uppercase letter. And so if instead we say capital message, similar to how we were doing with React Fragment, then we use capital message here. And let's make sure we don't get errors here. So we'll say capital message for these. Then we can save that. And now we're no longer getting that warning. If we look at our compiled code, we're going to see that capital message here. And when we get past to React create element, we're going to get a capital message right here outside of a string. So we're passing a reference to the function directly to the React create element call. And then if we ultimately look at what's rendered to the DOM, we come down here, we see our ID of root, our container, and then we see a div with the class of message. Yeah, it's not rendering hello world in there, and that's because I'm not using the children prop. And I want to explain that later, but I just noticed it. I think we'll explain it later. Now let's take a look at what this message component element really is. So it's console.log that message element. And we'll look at our console, and we'll see that it is a React element. And its type, instead of being a div like we had before, let's take a look at that to compare. Console.log div hello world div. Save that, and we'll get two console logs. So the first one being our div, the type is a string of div, whereas the type here is a function, is our message function. And here we get the props of children hello world, and we have children hello world in this one as well. So when you give a capital letter in JSX, that's the same as calling react.createElement with the function that you're referencing. And that allows you to create a custom component that you can use to reuse code over and over again. So let's go ahead and cut this out, and we'll rewrite this using JSX. We'll say message, and then use the MSG prop because that's what we're expecting. And then we'll come back here, save that, and everything's working without any errors. And if we look at our compiled version of our code, then we'll see that we're calling React create element with that message type, with that message function. And then if we wanted to make it nice and declarative so that we could nest these things as if it's the children prop, well then we just accept children as our prop for the name of the prop. And then we can rename this one to children, and those two are functionally equivalent. So if we save this, then we'll still get hello world and goodbye world. But honestly, one of those looks a little bit nicer to me, so I'm going to switch both of these to use that syntax. And what's cool about this is I'm also able to nest these together and pass anything that React can render to the DOM. Which includes the string here, or additional components here, or additional elements here. In review, what we did here was we had some code that was being duplicated, and we wanted to reuse that code in multiple places. So we created a function component. We created our own custom function component, which is a function that accepts a props object and returns more React elements. And we had to make sure that our function component started with a capital letter so that Babel would compile this to pass the function itself to React create element rather than the string message to React create element. And that way, when React renders our component, element, it knows what function to call. There we go. Okay. I think that one was pretty good. 7 minutes recording time. Save this. 0.5. Custom component. And I just realized this is spelled wrong, so that's too bad. Here, let's do that. Let's spell it correctly. And there we go. Off to the races. Fix spelling. Okay, cool. So there's our custom component. And somebody is just asking me a question. How are you doing? I'm doing great. How are you? I was facing an issue with testing React component having suspense with jest. I actually have a dev tip about that, I think. Yeah, let's dev tips. Oh, you gotta spell that right. I'll give you a link to this thing. And suspense. And I can't see it, of course. Bring it on over. What? Okay, fine. Yeah, testing components that use suspense. This one's with lazy, React.lazy, but same idea applies. So have fun with that. Hi, I am new here. Welcome. Can I ask you how many hours per day do you code? Many. I don't know if I'm representative of everyone, but I personally code a lot. I spend a lot of time coding. Especially early on, I coded, I don't know, probably 8 hours a day or more. Like I had meetings at work and stuff, but I would code like most of the day. And then I would code into the night too, after we put the kids to bed and stuff. There were certainly some days I coded less, like maybe 4 hours, if I had a lot of meetings and I didn't have any time to do it in the evening. But there were definitely some days I coded 8 hours or more. These days, I code maybe a little bit less because I spend so much time triaging issues on my open source and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the status there. Hopefully that was sort of interesting. Okay, so it is 11:22 my time. I kind of want to go eat, but I'm kind of on a roll and it's kind of early to eat. So I'm going to keep on going. Just need to check. I think I got a text somewhere. Yeah, okay. Let me see something really quick here. Okay. Okay. Thanks so much. Okay, let's see. So our next one is prop types. Good old prop types. I wasn't making an old joke. Want that, and that's it. Okay, cool. We're using classes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoops. Who did that? Not me. Nope, 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 nope. We're gonna make this. Come on, function. There we go. Say hello, props. Let's just destructure first name, last name. And then and boom, 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 boom. There we go. And coming back for 6. Jojo potatoes. Did I do that? I don't remember ever writing Jojo potatoes. I'm not that funny. How about let's do a famous person in history that like everyone thinks is cool. My first thought was Jesus Christ, but that might be a little sacrilegious. I don't know. How about Sonic? Hedgehog. The Hedgehog. There we go. His last name is the Hedgehog. There we go. That'll work. Everyone likes Sonic. Okay, so we've got say hello. We've got our prop types, and yeah, that'll do it. So let's git commit. Who uses classes anymore? Okay, very good. Then we're going to get rid of prop types. We'll add that later. All right, just got another message here. Oh, did you hear that? Because, yeah, you hear my Chrome stuff. You hear when I get a new message. Yeah, you heard that I got a new message in the middle of recording. And I was not phased. Actually, I was just a little bit, but it worked out. Okay, cool. Great, so we got rid of prop types. And we'll get rid of this. And we'll save that. And it still works. Oh, except we want to demonstrate what it's like when somebody gets it wrong. So they miss the last name and first name is false. There we go. That's what we want to show. So I don't need to show a proper example. Maybe like when it's all done, it should be a proper example. Very good. And we no longer need to have elements open, but we will want to have the console open. Let me review the video that I did last. Don't miss anything.
When other people start using your components, sometimes they'll make mistakes when passing props. For example, here we're passing the value of true for first name, which we're expecting to be a string in our component, and we're not passing a last name prop at all. So what is being rendered is not what we expect. To use prop types on a function component like say hello here, we'll say hello dot prop types is an object, and to validate the first name prop, we'll add a first name key to this object, and the value of this is a function which accepts props, prop name, and component name. Let's go ahead and say if type of props at prop name is not equal to string, then we'll return a new error. Hey, you should pass a string for prop name in component name, but you passed a type of props at prop name. With that,
boy, sure wish that I still had that around. Probably don't. Maybe the enhanced transcript can give me that, because I don't want to have to. Nope, rats. Hey, you should pass a string for prop name and component name, but you pass a type of props at prop name. All right.
We'll see our error message being logged through the console here. Awesome. We need the same thing for the last name, so we'll pull this function out to an object that we'll call prop types and put it in a property called string. Then we can set first name to prop types.string and last name, and set that to prop types.string as well. Super. Now we're getting the error message for both of them. Because this and other prop types are so common, the React team has built a package called prop types, which we can use just like the one we just built ourselves. So I'll go ahead and add a new script tag up here at the top that pulls in prop types from unpackage, and that's going to add a prop types global to our program. So we can go ahead and remove our own implementation of prop types, and everything should work pretty much the same. There's one difference here now though. We're no longer getting a warning for the last name prop. The issue here is that all of the validators in the prop types module consider props to be optional by default. So if a prop is not provided, then the validator doesn't run. That's useful in some cases, like where we provide a default value, like if we were to add or unknown here for the last name. If we wanted to specify a prop is required, we can simply add .is required here for the first name and here for the last name, and that will give us a new error indicating that this prop is required. For components declared as classes like this, we can continue to specify our prop types the same way, but it's more common to do this by making prop types a static property of the class like this. It works exactly the same way. Let's swap the development version of React to the production version. You'll notice now that our prop types validation is totally gone. This is because prop types is great for development, but it does slow things down a bit in an unnecessary way for production. So the production version of React does not use prop types. This is great, and if you want to improve things further, you can use Babel plugin transform React remove prop types to automatically remove prop types from your code when you're building it for production, which will make things even faster for you. In review.
Okay, let's not forget that either.
To add prop types validation to your component, you add a prop types property to the function component, or a static property called prop types to the class component, like we're doing here. The keys of that object map to the props of your component. You then provide functions to validate the props. The prop types module has a bunch of validators available to you, and you can learn about those in the prop types documentation. When other people start using your components, sometimes they'll make mistakes when passing props. For example, here
published a year ago. Yeah, no prop types love. Thank you, Flow and TypeScript. I'm not going to be teaching that. I know somebody's wondering. I'm not going to teach that in this. This is, that's not basic enough. This is beginner's guide. They don't need an introduction to an entirely different syntax and programming language and stuff. They've got enough to deal with as it is. Okay, cool. I think I'm ready. When you start creating custom function components, you're going to have people using those function components, and they may not use it quite right. For example, here we have this say hello that's accepting a props object. We're destructuring it right here. And we're getting a first name and a last name prop and expecting to be able to render those out. But the way that it's being used is we have that first name prop being assigned to false, and we're not providing the last name prop at all. And so the end result is not exactly what we're looking for. The React team has developed a package called prop types that allows you to add runtime validation of the props that are passed to your components. But I don't want to use that package. I want to use the API. This is why React supports a feature called prop types that allows you to validate the types of props that are being passed to your components when they're rendered. So to add support for that, we're going to have say hello.proptypes equals this object. And we'll have a key for the prop that we want to validate. And that's going to be a function that takes, I forgot what it takes. Props, prop name, component name. That takes the props, the prop name, and the component name. So in here, we can so anytime our say hello So anytime our say hello is rendered with a So anytime our say hello component is rendered, we can check that the first name prop was passed properly. And so we can say if, oh come on, where's my autocomplete? So we can say if, oh, what the devil? So we can say if type of props at prop name is not equal to a string, then we can return a new error that says, hey, the component name needs the prop name to be a string, but you passed a type of props at prop name. And if we save that, then we can see that warning shows up. Failed prop type. Hey, the component say hello needs the prop first name to be a string, but you passed a boolean. And we could do the same thing for our last name prop. So what I'm going to do is pull this out. We'll create a last name prop here. And I'm going to make a prop types object here where we have a string that is that validator that we just created. And then here we can say first name is prop types.string and last name is prop types.string. And then we could add a bunch more validators to the prop types for numbers and whatever else you could imagine. And then with that, we get a warning for both of these. This is so common that the React team created a package on npm that we can use, and I'm going to pull it in from unpackage. We'll paste that right in here, and it's called prop types. So with that, it actually creates a global variable here for us called prop types when we're using it as a script like that. And it has the same API that we just created. What foresight. So we'll save that. We'll get a refresh, and things are working a little differently. Before we were getting a warning for both the first name and the last name, but now we're just getting one for the first name. And the reason for that is that prop types by default are not required. And so because the last name wasn't provided, we're not getting the last name validated in this case. And that works out nicely if you provide a default for the last name, like if we were to say unknown here. But if you want to make sure that it's required, then you can add a .is required on both of these and save that. And now you'll get a warning saying that the first name is the wrong type and the last name is required but wasn't provided. Let's also take a look at what one concern you might have is that this adds quite a bit more code that React needs to run every time it renders your component, which might slow down your application in some situations. But the production version of React does not validate the prop types. But one reasonable concern you might have about prop types is that it adds a fair amount of code that needs to be run whenever React is rendering your components, which may impact performance. So let's take a look at the production.minified version of React. And we'll notice that everything is working exactly as it was before, but we're no longer getting those warnings. And that's because in production, prop types are not applied. And if you want to take things a step further, then you can actually get a Babel plugin that will remove the prop types from your source code for production. And that plugin is called Babel Plugin Transform Remove Prop Types. So you could install that and use that in your production build, or many toolkits install and use this by default. If you want to learn more about the prop types that are available, you can go to the prop types page on npm, and there are a lot of different prop types that you can supply. And there are a lot of different types that you can use for your components to validate that people are using your components properly. I sure hope that you all can't hear my kids, because they are bumping around upstairs, and this is why I normally don't record during the day, because they like to jump around. And I mean, who's to blame them? But it does make recording pretty hard, and I think I'm going to have to stop right now. Yeah, I can hear them. I'm just not sure if I can hear them when I'm talking. And that plugin is called Babel Plugin Prop Types. You could install that and use that. I think it's fine. Okay. But yeah, they absolutely are roughhousing right now, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, we're going to have to stop for probably the rest of the day. And maybe I'll just do more recording tonight. But that was fun. So we're on 06. Prop types. Save that. Close this. And somebody just asked me, have you ever thought that you will create your own front-end library later on? Are you talking about like a component library or something? I mean, I've created many libraries. So I'm guessing you're talking about something more like Material UI or Reach UI or something like that. And if that is your question, my answer is no, probably not. If I were to work on any UI library, I'd work with the React training folks on the Reach UI stuff. I think that has like so much potential, and it already is awesome. So that's what I would recommend looking into. I created a component library when I was at PayPal. That was cool. And they're still using it, and that's just validating. Hey, can you just guide me on selecting projects for contributing to open source? P.S. I'm a beginner. Welcome. I do have a blog post for this. I have a blog post for this because I've been asked it so many times. So you're not alone. Welcome to open source. I'm glad you can't hear them, but I have a noise gate in OBS, and maybe I should figure out how to get a noise gate in ScreenFlow. But it doesn't really matter all that much, because when I'm talking, if there's a big thump, then you can hear that in the video. So I may have to re-record that last one, because they started getting pretty wild. But anyway, I don't mind doing live streams when they're all noisy and stuff, but recording videos that, especially like I want it to be really nice, high quality stuff, I just can't bring myself to do that when they're being super noisy, jumping up and down and whatever. So yeah, that's the status of that. I think I'm gonna run upstairs and hang out with them for a little bit and do some eating of lunch and stuff. And then later on, I'll probably get to conditional JSX and the rest of it. So yeah, what do I think of Vue? I think it's cool. I think people seem to really like it. I'm not interested in learning a template DSL. I was burned by that with AngularJS. Not interested in getting into that with Vue. Until React becomes like such a until something else comes around that can just blow React out of the water for my use cases, it has to, like, I see no reason to leave React. So I just like React a lot. I'm glad that you like the videos. Thank you. Can I talk about React and SEO? I don't know too much about React and SEO, to be honest. I have an SEO component on my website repo that I ripped off of Jason Langsdorff. It is SEO. Yep. There it is. So you can take a look at that. I don't know what most of it is doing. I think it's using Helmet, React Helmet, to get meta tags and stuff in there. So feel free to play around with that if you want. But that's it for me. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up, and I will. Well, what you're all asking questions all here at the end. I'm trying to just go have lunch. But I have a blog post for you. So next time you want to ask me a question, probably, I mean, I'm happy to answer questions, but I have a search thing here, and I have 143 blog posts that you can search through, and then I also have my dev tips, where I have over 100 relatively short videos that you can search through, where I show you how to do stuff. So I've been thinking about how to make it so you have one page where you can search for all of my stuff, and it would just filter it and stuff, and have it all categorized and whatever. So basically this page just also have my YouTube and my Egghead and everything else. But that's hard, so I may never be able to do that. But yeah, you could also search Kent C. Dodds. What did you say? Global State React. There it is. Boom, boom, boom. So, boom, boom. I've got so much stuff, and Google is really good at sending people my way. So, not that I'm like, I appreciate the questions. It's validating. But there are ways to find your answers. All right, cool. So thanks for watching. This is fun. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later. I might live stream some more today after lunch. We'll see. Okay, peace out.